Welcome back to Retro Rebound. In today's video, it's the stinky Switch. Oh, you're so gross. We're finally retiring you, old man. Go sit in a retirement home or something. We're done with you, and we're moving on to the Nintendo Switch 2, or at least some of us are. Understandably, Nintendo Switch 2 has been widely debated because of its business practices, right? $80 video games, subscription service that's tied to a button on the controller that if you don't have the subscription service, it's literally like a premium button that's useless on your controller. That's ridiculous, by the way. There's a lot Nintendo has done and said that has warranted a lot of scrutiny and anger. But to me, top of that list really is Switch Online. You know, gating that back compat content into a subscription service and not doing the virtual console bugs the hell out of me. So Maddie, with your grievances, why are you still picking up a Switch 2? And there's one primary reason and then a lot of supporting reasons why I personally want to get one now. This is not a video designed to convince you. I just thought it was a good primer, way to grease the wheels. Let's talk Switch 2 because later this week and into next week, we're going to have a lot of videos and we're going to talk a lot of Nintendo Switch 2. But before all that, I want to talk to you about my cereal. Check out today's sponsor. The following video is sponsored by Magic Spoon. Breakfast is one of my weakest meals. I absolutely struggle with breakfast because I need something that's filling but not too filling. And when I discovered Magic Spoon years ago, it's been a staple in my cabinet for years. And when Magic Spoon reached out, easiest yes in my life, man. Like, I love their cereal. And now they have protein treats. I love them both so much. So let's talk about it. Magic Spoon fits a variety of diets. It's high protein, no sugar. It's really good for those of you who are being carb conscious, but it's also crunchy and very fulfilling and flavorful, and it just reminds me of being a kid eating that bowl of cereal in front of the TV. Like, they have these great flavors like chocolate or fruity is my favorite. Fruity, oh my god, fruity. So every morning it's been Magic Spoon cereal and protein treats, and it's been incredible. Their protein treats really caught me off guard because I wasn't aware of these. They contain 11 to 12 grams of protein, 1 gram of sugar, and 1 to 2 grams of net carbs, so you can always get the fuel that you need to get on the go, which is, again, a lot of my life in these busier times of years where, like, in June, it's the thick of, like, covering all these showcases and reviewing and previewing a lot of things at once. Like, having Magic Spoon there for when I'm busy and not busy is perfect for me. So what are you waiting for? Use my code RETROREBOUND or click the link in the description down below to get $5 off your next order of Magic Spoon. You can also find Magic Spoon on Amazon or in grocery stores. So even when you're just out and about shopping, this isn't like one of those niche things. Like, you'll find it. It's there. Try it out. And this is the cool part, right? Because like, I'm literally telling you, just try it, right? Is that they are so confident in what they've got that they're going to give you your money back. They have a 100% happiness guarantee. So if you don't like it, you're like, you know what? This cereal ain't for me. They'll refund you, no questions asked. Go ahead, click the link in the description down below, magicspoon.com/retrorebound, get $5 off. Shout out to Magic Spoon for sponsoring today's video. First reason, primary reason, like, I'm trusting that voice inside me when I think Switch 2. Where does my brain jump to right away? Where does my heart jump to right away? It's not even the new games coming out. It's back compat. It is literally just how much of my Switch library has been unplayed because of the state of the Switch 1 and how outdated it gradually became, that I was very selective with the Switch 1 games I played. Like, if you looked very indie or very art style driven, I played you in a game of trust. I was like, I'm going to play you because I feel like you're not really going to push my Switch on a technical level to its max capacity, which was very little, mind you. So when other games came around, like a Bayonetta 3, I bought day one. I was like, I want to have this. I want to support it. I love Platinum. But did I play Bayonetta 3? No, you kidding me? I was like, this game? Barely gonna run on this thing. And like, Platinum's known for strong 60 FPS action titles that look pretty good. I was like, you know what? No, I'm not even taking that chance. Or most famously, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. That is a upcoming retrospective here on the channel because I liked, as I talked about in my review of the game, what I played of it. Like, I thought Pokemon Scarlet and Violet was a really good time. But could I enjoy it completely? No, it was so technically distracting and disastrous. It was like I was trying to frolic through a field of flowers as like the forest around me was on fire. It's like I just can't do that to a certain extent. That's coming from someone who can usually overlook like mid graphics. I mean, like, we cover so many old games here and mid art styles for like the greater good, if you will, right? And so that is one of the main reasons Switch 2 has me excited, is because games that should have been delivered in a particular state even though it should have happened at launch, like, you know, when we look at Scarlet and Violet, like what we're going to be getting with this Switch 2, they've already put videos out. I'm like, it still looks 10 times worse than most things coming out nowadays, but at least it looks serviceable enough where I won't constantly be looking at it going, God, I'm so distracted right now. What is that? What is that? At least I hope so. These videos have been convincing for me though. So yeah, it's not even games like Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom getting 60 frame updates. Like those are games I muscled through all the technical hiccups of the Switch because it was just pure greatness on display. There were other games that I pushed through. There are other games that were just made so well, like Astral Chain, I didn't need to push through. But as time has gone on, the Hyrule Warriors games, never played those. The Fire Emblem Warriors games, I did push through that because I enjoyed it a lot, but that ran terribly. When it came to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, Bayonetta, like these are games that I've just had sitting on my shelf that I desperately want to play, but I have not really felt comfortable playing because I know it's going to come in a shortchanged manner. And if these were games available everywhere else, it would be less of an issue. But for me, the number one thing is back compat. That's why earlier on we made a video about the best Switch games, because I was like, I know people are in my pocket. We're buying Switch 2. Yeah, the upcoming stuff looks great. We'll talk a little bit about that here, but it really is about my library and just playing it at its best level, at the level it should have been at. And the Switch 2 does have some decent power underneath the hood, where a lot of these Switch 1 games should get at least some form of stability at the very least. And if there are patches created for it, updates created for it that take full advantage of the hardware, they can see significant jumps. But again, I'm talking more about the games that are getting free updates, like Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Like, I'm not interested in paying however much for Breath of the Wild to run at 60 frames. Like, I enjoy Zelda, but like, I'm a weird Zelda fan where those games are great, but like, I have a stronger love for like an Ocarina of Time or a Twilight Princess. So to each their own, but that is one of the main reasons I'm buying it. I just want to have back compat on deck and just playing my Switch 1 library at the best possible level. The other thing is more economic. It really is pricing unpredictability. This is not to get political or anything like that, but just the kind of times we live in with tariffs being a thing and the ups and downs of prices. Some companies have clearly taken advantage of the economic confusion and jumped their prices of everything that doesn't even have tariffs affecting it, because everyone's just expecting prices to go up. So it's a good time to move prices up where there's less questions. It's like, oh, that's just the nature of our world right now. But really, it was with Xbox that locked in my pre-order fully, because Xbox jumped the price of the Series X to $600. That means that system is now $100 more expensive than when it launched, when I bought it in 2020. That's insane. And Nintendo Switch 2, while I don't know how things are going to play out, I don't think anyone on this planet does know how things are going to play out economically. It's been so up and down that there was a part of me that said, I want to get this now because I feel like I might regret it later if I wait. Not because of the games. There's always tons of stuff, at least in my opinion, to play on all my other platforms. It's just about, I know I'm excited about the Switch 2 based on what I was lucky enough to go hands-on with, and that when it came to the pricing of it all, I was happy with the console pricing. And if it jumped significantly, I would have been unhappy with it. And given that we've now seen how late in the game that can happen, I'd rather pay for it now when I feel most comfortable with spending that money. So there is an economic situation to it as well. Getting out of the weeds of that though, one thing that did surprise me, speaking of my hands-on experience, was the mouse functionality. I think this is going to be a game changer for games that do play best in that kind of keyboard and mouse setup, and how you can maybe navigate them a little bit more. They used Civilization 7 as a great example of what the Switch 2 can do and how it feels very at home with PC games. But as PC becomes more and more of a platform developers are really focusing on, making sure like we have to have our games on Steam, I think Switch 2 is going to be a beneficiary of that big time. And especially when I went in thinking that mouse was going to be a gimmick, and I always tell this story, but I'll tell it again. When I was playing Metroid Prime 4 and I was using the controller and struggling to aim, and then naturally switched over to the mouse functionality and was just using it on a tabletop, and then ended up using it on my leg and was still way more accurate and felt way more fluid, way more natural. I was like, dang, dude, that just came naturally. That was, again, that voice inside me where I was like, this is what I got to do. And I switched over and it felt great. So to know it's that reliable, I think is going to unlock a lot of possibilities for the Switch. No doubt, Nintendo will have their gimmicky games like Drag X Drive, which I played and had a lot of fun with. No doubt they're going to have their gimmicky games, but I also think it's just the games that get ported over to the Switch, like even basic first-person shooters, might feel really great with the Switch thanks to the mouse functionality. Just aiming in a first-person shooter. I never was a keyboard and mouse bro. I always remember playing, I think it was like Blacklight Retribution, that free-to-play first-person shooter. I remember playing it on Steam. And when I played it for the first time, that was like my first-person shooting PC gaming experience. And I was like, there's never a world where I will prefer this over a controller. But times have changed 13 years later. And I do like my keyboard and mouse. And to have a system that can give me my controller accessibility if I'm like on the plane or on the couch or whatever, but also the ability to use the mouse on my leg and have it be accurate and have it work well. Very optimistic about the mouse and what it can bring to third-party games. There are also a couple of games at launch that I am really excited about, but really the main reason I'm getting Switch 2 is for games after launch. Two of them come to mind. The first, which just got an October release date, is Pokemon Legends ZA. I know this game is ugly as sin, and I know we should expect better, but I can't deny the fun factor and the cozy factor of Pokemon Legends Arceus. I absolutely adored that game, and as you've seen on this channel many a time, when I love something a lot, I do repeat retrospectives on it, each time seemingly getting deeper and deeper and deeper into my feelings and my thoughts and the game itself. And I do think if I were to critique myself, I need to do a little bit better just to get it in that one try. But it always feels like there was more to be said, more I had to get off my chest. So that's just to me a very powerful game. And it also synchronizes really well with like what Retro Rebound means to me. It was like our first big review we did on the channel that kind of broke things open where I was like, well, we can talk about Nintendo here? Like, that's huge. Like, I'm so excited about that. So it meant a lot to me in that way. But Pokemon Legends ZA, taking place in a city and just having that Legends gameplay formula focused on catching and zones and the battle styles being a lot more fluid. I'm very, very excited about this one. Easily out of anything coming out on the Switch 2 this year, this is my most anticipated game. And you know where I stand. I'm not a Pokemon head. I'm not. I love Pokemon. I have great memories with Pokemon, but most of those were from before the age of like 11 for me. So I'm looking at Legends ZA in this really unique light of like, I don't really enjoy this series as much as I used to, but this style of Pokemon, I can really get down with. I hope it takes advantage of the Switch 2 in interesting ways beyond its awful visuals, and that maybe there's more that they're using on a gameplay front to make it exciting and interesting, but nonetheless, really keen on getting my hands on this one. The other one that I did go hands-on with that's coming out a month after the Switch, so in the mid part of July, is Donkey Kong Bonanza. This game has Mario Odyssey energy on it, but I guess from what I've seen online and conversations I've had with acquaintances, Donkey Kong is not supposed to be loved in 3D. I've heard Donkey Kong Country is the wave, and if you like Donkey Kong 64, you just don't get it, pal. And I get that because I've watched the critiques of Donkey Kong 64 and the ridiculous amount of collectibles they shoved into it, but I grew up with that, and there is something to be said about that impact it has on us as humans. Like, I'm sure Donkey Kong Country is the objectively better game, but the mood and atmosphere and music and playable characters and exploration of 64 was such a big part of my childhood. The game had so much mystery and, dare I say, aura to it when I was a kid that I really think of Donkey Kong in that way. When I went and played like Tropical Freeze or other country games, I'm like, yeah, it's all right. Like, and it definitely is one of those things. It's just a product of how you are introduced to a series and how it resonates with you. And so when I went from 3D to 2D, I was like, this feels limited. So I hope that Donkey Kong Bonanza, number one, delivers on what I love about 3D Donkey Kong, the atmosphere, the vibe, and the exploration, which no doubt it hits that latter point from what I played. You can just punch through every wall, every surface, and find collectibles and hidden items everywhere. But more importantly, it settles the long debate between 2D and 3D and maybe borrows elements from 2D Donkey Kong that people love enough where they go, okay, this is the hybrid I've been looking for, the 3D exploration with 2D elements and challenges that make it the Donkey Kong that we can all love. So yeah, those are just two new games coming out that also I wanted to make sure I had a Switch to before, no doubt with third party, as the Switch 2 will get tested heavily, I wonder if there's going to be other third party games that I use my Switch for instead of my PlayStation or my Xbox or my PC. That was a big component for me as well with the Switch at launch, when it wasn't in such a dire state, I'd say, with third party ports, and it was kind of, you know, you clearly were compensating, but it was staying in line enough. I'm hoping the Switch 2 doesn't get lapped so quickly, because I did use my Switch 1 a lot out the gate, and I stuck with it a lot more than others. Like, I have people who are like, I haven't touched it in years. I'm like, I'm not on that type of time, but I will say I hope the Switch 2 does remain relevant on a power level for a longer time, because for me, that curve of usage would be much higher. So fingers crossed on that. The last thing I wanted to talk about is still a game, but it does fall into that online subscription service I have a love-hate relationship with, and that is GameCube games. I'm just really excited to see how this library expands. You know, I've never played F-Zero before outside of what I played at the Nintendo Switch hands-on event. But also, one thing Nintendo's doing that I think is great is they're going to be kind of regulating parts of the retro market that are way overpriced. Like just having accessibility to like Fire Emblem, Path of Radiance, or like the Pokemon games like Colosseum and Gales of Darkness. These are games that are way too much money for what they offer and how readily available they were. It just runs on name brand, and they'll still be a more expensive type of piece you seek out as a collector. But I think there's no reason why some of these games should be pushing $200-$300 at all. And so the exciting part about this is for collectors who, like me, sometimes you know the accessibility is online and maybe you still play the game through digital means, but when you want to add to your collection, you make sure having that game at a price where you can kind of go like, oh, $80. Yeah, why not? Like, I'm happy to see that this might bring some regulation to the retro market, kind of like what PlayStation did when they started to sell these games digitally to us again on PSN with trophies. It started to bring a lot of prices down. It started to regulate things a lot more. So that made me really happy to see, because again, I just think retro games went through this wave where during the pandemic and then a little bit after, people took advantage of just markets being able to spike. The best example I provided was in our retrospective on Piglet's Big Game, and how people just saw, oh, internet phenomenon, even though this game was readily available everywhere, $400 now, please. Thank you. Like, it's just too whatever with itself. And so having, to be frank, platform holders enforce pricing or just availability, even if it's not the ideal form of availability, means that some people will start to cut their prices. So very optimistic about that. Last thing I'll talk about as well is Mario Kart World. This is kind of the in-betweener. I love Deluxe. What I played of World, I'm a little in between on. It really is going to come down to that free roam mode. If the free roam mode is sick and there's a lot of collectibles and a lot of open world challenges, it's kind of like Forza Horizon, I'm going to love this game. But if it's sort of the racing we got from Deluxe, I think I'll like the game. But there's parts of that map that are just wide open when you're racing and there's no real competition or things happening. And I think it can kind of go into a little bit more of an up and down roller coaster state. So we'll see. No doubt the game is going to do fantastic either way. I will be picking it up day one, like I think many of you who are picking it up day one will be. But these are just some of the reasons that I'm picking up the Switch 2. It's really those first two as the driving reasons. Back compat, regulating my library, playing games that I've been wanting to play for a while, and finally diving into them. The other is price unpredictability, that the fact that this thing can go up in price, we just don't know. I just want to make sure I'm on the side of like, okay, I got it. I don't have to worry about this anymore. And so that's why I see a lot of people doubling up, like buying two, because they'll give it to a friend or something like that and sell it to them for a fair price, that sort of thing. So that's kind of where I'm at with things, but I'd love to hear from you. Why or why not are you picking up a Switch 2? Let me know down below. I'm looking forward to seeing your thoughts. Other than that, I will catch all of you in the next Retro Rebound. Peace out.